Hi, everyone. Feel free to unmute yourself and say hi. It's good to see you.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Hello.
It's been a while since I've seen some of your faces. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy. So I'm just happy because the session's over, you guys. Yay! So I've put together a little, just briefly, it might take a while to get through, but it's very simplified. And I am going to create like a more like splashy presentation for all of our liaison groups that have invited me to come out and speak to them with, and that will have a little more detail. But I wanted to update everyone on how the last weeks of session ended, what happened, give you the basics. I put the data together, but essentially I had like one day to do this, so it's very basic. I'm gonna wait for some more folks to come in. I'm just so happy. You should have seen me yesterday. I was like, oh, there's no legislature today. I don't have to worry today. I mean, there's a lot you're gonna see when we get started. I'm waiting for more people to come in, but you'll see how bad it was. It was a bad session. There's just nothing nice to say about this session whatsoever. Absolutely garbage. And I am recording, so that's on record. It was garbage. Even worse than garbage, it was like somebody took the garbage and like shook it all over your house and then gave you a shower in the garbage and then closed the door so you had to sit in it. That is how bad this session was. But I'm fine. Everything's fine. We'll undo all this later. We'll undo it all later. So welcome everyone to, oh, that says May 28th. It's supposed to say July 2nd. Good times. Welcome to Legislative Update. Today is July 2nd. The legislature just finished their session. They adjourned sine die on June 30th, 2021. And that means we had 171 days of session. We have not gone this long, I believe, since 2002. We've gone pretty close to this long. In 2009, they went to, I believe it was June 29th. But the interesting thing, here's an interesting factoid for you. This was the earliest time of day that the legislature adjourned sine die. Sine die. Diane, say it for me. Do you know how to say it? Who knows how to say this? I don't know.
Well, I know what I
say.
say.
Is never an E sound. It's sine die.
Well, sine die, I heard is the wrong way to say it.
I've heard that too.
I heard it.
You say it as somebody who was brought up in a Catholic school.
Wait, I'm wrong. No, Latin is sine. Yeah, sorry.
Sine die is the proper
Yeah.
pronunciation.
Okay.
I should have known. Hey, Ed, how you doing?
That's your Catholic school upbringing.
Thank you. I did take Latin. I went to Brophy. Yeah, so my Catholic school, we had it. Yeah, we had it. But I only took Latin because I wanted to go to the boys' school. That's the only reason I took Latin. So I don't remember any of it, but we did do a lot of Publius discussion, Publius and the things Publius like to do. Okay, anyway, there is a proper way to say it. I'm going to keep it lighthearted today because whatever, I'm really happy session's over. So we had 171 days of session. They had 1,774 bills. That's a lot of bills too. That is a lot of bills. Like we've been getting 1,300 bills, you know, on average every session. They've been going till like the beginning of May. You know, pretty much May has been when they've stopped. So this year is unprecedented. We went all the way to June 30th. They passed 473 bills. He vetoed 27, but 22 of those don't count. Because that was like his protest. The governor vetoed 22 bills because he was mad that the legislature didn't send him a budget. So the reason why those don't count is because every single one of them was brought up again in a different bill number and passed. So they really don't necessarily count, but it is the technical bill count. So here at Secular AZ, we are technical. So there you go. All right. Can y'all see this okay? I've got a link to it I've got a link to it for you that I'm going to give you. I can put it in no, I can't put it in the chat right now, but I'm going to give it to you at the end. So this is a spreadsheet we put together. I just finished updating it this morning, so hopefully it's all accurate, of all the bills that Secular AZ worked on this session. And we put them in categories for you for the ones that we supported and opposed. And when you click the link, and I will send you the link, you should be able to get to the details, which lists out every single bill. It gives a link to the bill sheet and information. But you can see that this year the abortion bills took the prize for the most bills introduced regarding a singular subject. 20. 8 of those we supported. None of them moved. You can see of the bills we supported. Most everything doesn't move, and we did oppose 12. I didn't include in there the limited service pregnancy centers, which are also related to abortion. I pulled those out, so that's 4 more bills. I didn't include the denial of care bills, which are the bills that say that you can deny service to a person based on your religious beliefs. And it's not just for singular people, but the denial of care bills, they are actually systemic. So that includes hospital systems, places like Chandler Regional Medical Center. So everybody knows that's a Catholic hospital, okay? So they can deny services or not offer certain services, and it doesn't matter, right? But the denial of care bill, the religious refusals, we already have this in our state, but they were expanding it. They were expanding it out to medical students, and they were expanding it to all kinds of people. That bill died. So that's kind of like, hooray, right? Like that's a good win. There was, that was our one really bad bill in that category. The abortion bills we can discuss further, but really there were 4 bills that made it through. There was the bill on the abortion ban, and that one is Senate Bill 1457, which we are in discussions about being a part of a lawsuit on. So we are trying to build up our membership. So if you haven't already renewed your membership for this year, we ask that you please do that. And the reason why is because the more members we have, the better chance, the more standing we have in court, et cetera. So we actually created a special reproductive justice membership that's $50, and then we know you're a reproductive justice supporter, so we'll make sure you get all of our updates on reproductive justice. You'll also get a little bumper sticker that says, "Keep your rosaries off my ovaries, Secular AZ." So those are special, and we appreciate you. Buy some for your friends, give them out as gifts, because we are going to do our best to fight this bill in court. I'm going to talk more about limited service pregnancy centers specifically. The Equal Rights Amendment, there were 3 different bills or resolutions that were offered this year. None of them moved at all. There was an opportunity for folks to vote on this when it was offered as an amendment on the House floor. We will be using that on our scorecard. So when the scorecard comes out, which we're working rapidly to finish, we will put that one on there as well. You'll see the conversion therapy. So there were bans on banning conversion therapy, and it all came from Senator Vince Leach, and he tried 4 different times and he failed 4 different times. There were several LGBTQ plus anti-discrimination bills, just very positive bills. There were 12 of those. They didn't get a hearing. There were 3 negative bills that came out. 1 or 2 of them got hearings, but none of them got passed or signed into law. So it was a good year for LGBTQ, except for the sex education, which we'll talk about in a minute. Medical aid in dying, kudos to all of the folks who are working with us on this. It did not receive a hearing this year. We didn't think it would, but I would say that the advocates did a wonderful job of getting their bill together. And, hopefully we'll get some traction on it in the years to come. Regarding religious privilege, the good news is that only one of those bills passed. So there were 2 bills. One of them was giving clergy special visitation to folks in the hospital. and it excluded, it basically just says clergy. So if you don't have clergy, you would not get that special privilege. So it is a religious privilege. And that one passed. And the other bill, House Bill 2648, that was the bill that we worked on all session, giving sweeping criminal and civil liability protections to a broad definition of religious organizations. That bill, if you recall, it had momentum. It had Democrats voting with it, and 7 Democrats in the House voted with it. That will be reflected on our scorecard, so you'll see exactly who voted for this religious privilege. And by the time it got to the Senate committee, we were ready, and we successfully slowed it down. That bill went dormant for 3 months. 3 months. Nothing happened with that bill. We kept waiting. We never thought it was dead. Okay. All of you who've been on the call with me before will remember that I will say it's not dead until sine die. It's not dead till then. And don't you know, on June 30th, the day that they were going to end session, at 2:30 in the afternoon, this bill came up on a committee of the whole calendar, and they were going to start debating it and try to pass it on Wednesday, June 30th, 2 days ago. But the good news is we were ready, we were still ready. And so we activated right away. We sent out an action alert. We called all of our allies. We started making phone calls to senators on the floor. And at the end of the day, 2 hours later, they adjourned without hearing the bill. And so that is a huge win for Secular AZ and all of our supporters. I can't thank you enough. Anyone who made phone calls or wrote letters about this bill through the session, that is our big win. Regarding sex education, I will talk more about what happened with that, but you might recall that we did have a veto on a very bad sex education bill, Senate Bill 1456. However, another bill came and passed in its place, and I'll tell you about that. And regarding school vouchers, we're going to talk more about that. I've got this one on more detail in slides. So it did pass, the expansion passed. It passed at the last minute. It passed this week. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Do I have any questions on kind of the rundown of these bills? Okay, you may be wondering what the miscellaneous bills are that were passed or signed that we supported. And one of those is a pharmacy bill or birth control bill that I'll be talking about. And I can't remember what the other one is that passed that we liked. Oh, Holocaust education. Holocaust education passed yesterday or Wednesday as well. So, and it passed in a very simple form. It had no language in it that was concerning to us. It was just purely like, hey, let's teach about the Holocaust 2 times between 6th and 12th grade with, no parameters about what that looks like. So we certainly supported that, and we were happy to see that bill pass. Okay, so here's the last minute actions taken by the legislature. This is what happened this week in the 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of this week. Senate Bill 1082 moved, House Bill 2035 also moved. All of this, we anticipated a flurry of action during the last week, and they did not disappoint us. So let's talk about Senate Bill 1082 for a moment. This is a bill that was written and supported by ACOG. ACOG has been working this bill for many years, and it just keeps getting stopped and stopped and stopped. Early in session, though, it passed through the Senate, and this was one that ACOG had actually asked us if we could not be super visible about, which we're fine with, because if it gives a chance for the bill to pass, then we will certainly help. But we did let all of you know about it, and all of our supporters were aware of this bill. So if you've been on our email list, you probably wrote a letter about this bill in support. What the bill does is it basically says that the Department of Health Services has a standing order for any pharmacist in the state to be able to deliver hormonal contraceptives to people at the pharmacy. And they have, training on that. It's not something that is dangerous. This bill, again, was written and supported by ACOG, who are the specialists in birth control. This bill went to the House, and it went to the House committee, the House Health Committee, and it was challenged there with concerns by Democrats and Republicans. But it still passed, and it went through the rules process, and then it stayed dormant for 3 months. It was one of these bills we didn't hear anything about. We thought maybe it was dead, but we weren't sure. So it came back on Monday. There were amendments offered on the floor by both Republicans and Democrats. None of those amendments were vetted with stakeholders. None of them were supported by stakeholders, and they did not represent the view of stakeholders. And so amazingly, on Monday, the House of Representatives was able to pass this bill in a final version without a lot of the bad amendments. And so this is a real win. We're celebrating this. We did our best to work on this behind the scenes, and I'm real proud of this one. It's a shining beacon of light. Any questions on Senate Bill 1082? Okay. House Bill 2035. So this is the new sex ed bill. And this bill was one that was brought up in April. And this was after committee hearings had already ended. It was after Senate Bill 1456, the anti-LGBTQ sex ed bill had been vetoed. So essentially, the governor issued an executive order which said, hey, it basically listed off a bunch of things that were already in statute. So it didn't bother us. But what happened was we should have known, right? Because we saw this as a win when the governor vetoed 1456, that others would see it as a loss. If we saw it as a win, others would see it as a loss, and that wouldn't sit well with them. So in true legislative fashion, the GOP majority changed their rules to allow another committee hearing, a bill to be heard in committee in the Senate Health Committee, and it was a strike everything amendment to House Bill 2035. And it essentially codified the governor's executive order, and it made it so that school districts cannot discuss sexuality in any school topic or instruction without parents opting in. And opting in is, it makes everything a controversy. It singles, I don't know that they're going to need to send out permission slips when they talk about a heterosexual couple in history. But if they want to talk about anybody who is not heterosexual, that this is clearly the target of this bill. And so we'll see what happens. There may be some lawsuits. But it came back, and it was supported by the governor from day one. So we went to committee. We did our best to stop it, but we knew at that point that the deal was done. And so unfortunately, the governor did sign this bill this week. Okay, so the K-12 budget reconciliation bill. This is a very interesting education bill. Now, the bill is huge, and I only focused on the things that were of interest to secular AZ specifically. So we could talk about education funding and all of that, but I would direct you to more experts on that, like the School Boards Association or the Educators Association or the Save Our Schools. So, but I wanted to share with you a little bit of the floor amendments. Now, when the House and the Senate are debating bills on the floor, these amendments can show up, and they show up without notice. Oftentimes they show up right before they're passed. So that's why I wanted to share with you some of these amendments. So the first amendment that passed, but I put up there also so you know, it was altered later. So all of this didn't get codified. But the things that we care about, one is that the bill says, you don't have to be vaccinated and you don't have to wear a mask anymore in school, which is really concerning because, for those of us who have kids under the age of 12, those children are not vaccinated. It's very concerning. It's very concerning and frustrating that we can't just follow the science. Additionally, Representative Burgess added the civic education standards that was just so clearly Christian nationalism and Christian heritage, and wanted the State Board of Education to work with these freedom schools located in our public universities, which are just, funded. Anyway, it's not a clear picture. So anyway, this passed in the House version. But then it went to the Senate, and you can see the Boyer Amendment, which passed. It removed the civics education standards. So the bottom piece here, civic education standards, not in the bill. I just wanted you to know that it was in the bill for a brief period of time. And this is really what we're up against right now. What the Boyer Amendment also had in it was an ESA expansion, the one we've been fighting against all year. And it basically expands the program quite a bit. Eligibility is now anybody. A full-time student attending a primary or secondary school during the current fiscal year. So it's expanding it out. All right. They can also use money, the ESA money, the Empowerment Scholarship Account, which is basically a school voucher. They can use that money all the way through college. So yeah, it's an ESA expansion, and it passed, and it's signed into law. So I put on there for you Chapter 404, Laws 202, because it is a part of that. So it's something that we'll have to work with, and you know, work with the education advocates and see what the next steps are. The last time they passed an expansion, the Save Our Schools, that's when they formed. They did the referendum. But clearly the legislature is not interested in following the will of the voters, because they also passed some tax things this year, which don't have much to do with secular, but I am aware of them, so I'll share with you. It's basically through the budget, they passed a tax break that undoes Prop 208 for wealthy people. So, and Prop 208 is the education funding. The Cobb Amendment to the education bill. So I know this is a lot of text, so sorry about that. I don't really like when people do that to me on presentations, but I just want to get the information out there and I can talk about it. So this is you've heard of critical race theory, and I'm sure you have, because it's kind of a big deal right now, but it's been around since 1978. And I did some searching, and I couldn't find any other year in which any state has brought this up, right? So this is all related to this frenzy that's happening around critical race theory and what people don't understand it. This is what you're reading here is what the GOP thinks it is. And so it's very interesting to me, because this actually isn't what critical race theory is. So I'm not really sure what this does. So anyway, other than continue conspiracy theories and fear. So there you go. It made it. It made it. This made it. Okay. Any questions on that K-12 education bill? And feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, because if you raise your hand in your video, I cannot see you, because I'm sharing my screen, so all I see is my screen. Okay? All right. So yeah, more bad news. Sorry, folks. In the General Appropriations Act, as we suspected, they included the $1.5 million for this family health pilot program, which is actually the what we've been talking about, where they're going to use the money to target people seeking pregnancy information on pregnancy. So you might type into your search browser, like, what happened? You know, I missed my period or something like that. And they will the state of Arizona will now be contracting through these. Apparently there's 2 different nonprofit groups that they wrote into this law to then geo-target and send information to those people about these limited service pregnancy centers and encouraging them to go to them. And anything regarding abortion is strictly prohibited. So this is in the budget now. It's really hard to get things out of the budget once it's in. So for example, there's a $100,000 appropriation that's been in the budget for 5 years. We tried to take it out this year. We have a roll call vote, so we'll be including that on our scorecard to take that money out. And that money goes directly to crisis pregnancy centers. And of course, it didn't pass, or the amendment to take it out didn't pass. We also tried to take this out, so we would be able to score everybody on this. What
is geofencing?
Geofencing is when they will probably do that around abortion clinics. So they'll create it's like an invisible technology fence that they would put around a certain number of feet around the abortion clinic, or maybe a mile. I don't know what the radius would be. And anybody who goes into that area with their cell phone might get an advertisement now for the Family Health Pilot Program and about how bad abortion is. Yeah. Good question, Rico. Anyone else have any questions on this? Now, the General Appropriations Act has a lot more in it than this. It's the feed bill for the budget for the state, but I just pulled this out because this is one of the areas that we are very concerned about, and we worked on this bill. Basically what the legislature did is they just threw in a lot of bills that didn't make it through the process. They threw it into the budget as part of their budget negotiation and budget deals, and that's why we're kind of stuck with this, because it only takes a simple majority to pass the budget. So they don't need any Democrats, and this is where we are. Let's talk about invocations this year. I realize it's offset. So anyway, so this year we had, in the past, we have done a really good job about bringing secular invocations to the state capitol. And how we do this basically is I'm at the Capitol all the time. I talk to the lawmakers. I'm constantly reminding them and asking them to do it. This year, because of COVID, I was not at the Capitol. I barely saw any lawmakers in person, like at all. It just wasn't the same dynamic. And so, and being that we had so many bills this session, I think we had 77 bills, I was very busy and I didn't really have the time to work invocations. So to my surprise and my glee and my joy, without me working it at all, 16 people did a secular or Native American invocation. And I'm just really happy about that because, I mean, I'm sure if I had been down there and been able to work it, we could have had a much higher number. But these are the people who just did it on their own. And that is really cool. So just wanted to share that with you. But you can see overwhelmingly prayers at the Capitol to open their session are Christian. Oh, yeah. So this is the show your support for our work page. We created two things this session to kind of like, help us raise money because, we are only funded by Arizonans. Like that's how we get our funding. And we don't get like national grants. We don't get that. It's hard to get those things. So anyway, we are funded by our members and by our generous donors. So we created the reproductive justice membership for $50, which you'll get a bumper sticker. And then we have these I Follow the Science and Got Vaccinated bracelets. And if Lindsay's on, she can tell you more about those. But we just thought it would be fun because you know how you walk into a place and you're vaccinated, but you're like, oh, I don't want people to think that I'm a Trumper. So we got these bracelets. 100% of your donations fund our programs. We're such a small shop. They don't go anywhere else, like just comes to fund the program. So we appreciate you. Now, here's some resources for you. I don't know if you can click on these, probably not. So I'm gonna put these in the chat and then let's have a conversation. Thank you for listening and for being here with me on the it's over. I mean, it was so bad. You just saw how bad it was. Like it was so bad, but it's over for now. And that brings me a lot of joy. So I am here to answer your questions about the session. Any questions you might have about anything, if it was something I talked about or not. If I know the answer, I will give it to you.
So are we now paying tax money for this geofencing around abortion clinics? Is that part of that budget bill you mentioned?
Yeah, you sure are. You sure are. Man, and we fought for 3 years to try to keep that out of the budget. Here it is. Here it is. There's only, we've just, yeah. I put the stuff in the chat for you.
Around the crisis pregnancy centers on an equal basis.
There's nothing fair about this state. There were two bills that never got a hearing that were there to regulate limited service pregnancy centers, like to have them be licensed if they're going to do an ultrasound, right? No, they never even got a hearing. There's nothing fair about this state. Okay, next question.
So when there was a list in the paper of a number of the bills that the governor vetoed out of spite when they didn't pass his budget. And one of them, and I don't remember the details, but one of them was to change the wording from fetus to unborn child. And I wonder if you know anything about what happened with that, if that was one that.
Yeah, it got redone. It's signed into law. Yeah, all of the 22 bills that got vetoed, he just did it out of spite.
Well,
you know, so yeah, they all came back, and that one is included. And if you click on the information I put in the chat, the secular bills of interest, you'll see it there. But I included both. I included both bills with the old bill number that got vetoed and the new bill number.
Okay. Well, disgusting, but not surprising.
I know. Like at this point, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like why are they so obsessed with like people's reproductive business? Like mind your own business. I don't get it, but they had 20 bills, not including the limited service pregnancy bills and not including the denial of care bill, the religious refusal. So if you add those in, it comes up to 25. 12 of those were good, I should say, right? 12 of those were good bills that didn't get a hearing. So certainly had their sights set on abortion. Yes, David.
Hey, this is so appalling. I appreciate your positive attitude out of this, but I keep saying to myself, I'm moving. I'm on the same topic of the geofencing, geocoding, geo thing. Any chance that those types of new laws are going to be turned over by a court?
I don't think so. No, they've done this in other states. No, nothing. I don't think there's any chance of winning a lawsuit like that. So I don't know that anyone's going to be. I mean, there's privacy concerns. You're absolutely right. It's privacy concerns. It's the government being in our business.
Can I throw something out there real quick?
We didn't invite them. Go ahead, Copper Top.
So I don't know about Android, but I know iOS rolled this out a little bit ago. When it pops up asking for permissions, we should make sure everybody knows, select the Ask app not to track, because that is one of the sources for that data.
Thank you.
Is there any momentum to put?
Of course, they still have the money.
Ballot to refer any of these for repeal?
I haven't heard any of that yet, Ed, but I think the education community might do something about the ESAs.
I did hear something at the Arizona Faith Network's commission meeting the other day about a couple of things. So I'm sure they'll keep you informed, because they do hold you in high esteem over there. I don't know if you know that, but they really do hold you in high esteem over there.
I didn't know that. That's great.
They did. They mentioned it specifically, and they were very complimentary.
Oh, thanks.
You do have allies.
And David, I was going to say to David, I'm just so happy today because session's over. But if you've been to any of these throughout this session, I've been like, oh, the whole time. I'm just so happy it's over. Okay, who's next?
I'd like to ask about SB 2035. All references to gender identity and expression were removed from the original form of the bill. And in the discussion you had, you're saying it would still impact gender identity. And how would it do that?
Because they use the word sexuality. And so this is what the ACLU and Equality Arizona said. Basically, it's worse. It's worse now than it was before, Erica, because it's so broad in nature and it's so easy to for them to exclude things that they don't like. So yeah, it's actually it's not good. The new bill is not good. It's
a bad bill to be certain, but I'm trying to assess its impact in the transgender community, and And the only way I can see it could is that somebody could successfully argue that gender identity is the equivalent of sexuality. And I don't see how they could successfully make that, hopefully successfully make that argument. Because you know, everyone's expressing gender all the time. If you're saying that that isn't, everybody's walking around public being sexual. And I think even strident Christians who say that little girls be wearing dresses, little boys be wearing pants, are not saying you're all being really sexual around each other. And so I hope it's not, but you know, and I'm not trying to be too selfish how this impacts other people. It's still a bad bill, make no mistake. But you know, just kind of report back to how this impacts members of the trans community, and for what it's worth, I don't think it is.
Sure.
I think that if someone says, "Oh, I can't discuss the word cisgender and transgender. I can't discuss the difference between gender expression in a regular classroom unless they first get parental approval," no, I don't see that in the bill at all anymore. I'm just curious where
no,
that aspect of the bill where you're seeing that in it.
No, that part's gone. I mean, but it's still, sexuality is going to relate to all the LGBT, I mean, not T, but the LGBT community, among others. And I would talk to Michael over at Equality Arizona about it, because I believe that Equality Arizona is going to be doing some work around stopping this, and we'll be with them. So, and the ACLU. So the argument, Erica, basically was that it's worse because it's broader and it's up to interpretation. There's no definition of that. And so we have a lot of administrators and teachers and parents who will basically make a controversy out of this, and it will only hurt the kids sitting in the classroom because their identities are not a controversy, but there are people who will make it so, and they will use this law to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I also think it could blow up in their face. You pointed out that you say you can't just discuss trans people in class in this bill, and you can't discuss cis people in class under this bill, and that covers everybody.
The problem is that's not how their brains work. It's just not.
Well, no,
consistent with queer theory or anything.
But what can they push through? I mean, is it really going to be an effective law? I mean, in any regard, you can even discuss gay people without discussing sexuality. You can simply say that there's simply an identity group that is facing discrimination, and that doesn't even address their sexuality any more than saying a heterosexual, just talking about a heterosexual married couple means you're talking about their sexual behavior in their private lives. It doesn't mean that at all.
So I totally agree with you. I just know there's nefarious people in the state who will use this law for bad things. It's so broad.
And most of the effect with any law that is about how schools can be or what teachers can say, it has more influence through the school district's fear of getting sued than it does how the case would actually go.
Yeah, I understand that.
That's just
no school system is going to allow themselves to get sued in that manner. That's what it comes down to, because it's money that they don't have as it is.
They're just going to avoid everything. Is basically what it comes down to. It's an oppression bill. Thank you. Oh, and Erica, by the way, someone was talking about, it was the bill we worked on, I think it was last year, the trans girls sports bill.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and watch the video again for various reasons. I guess I don't know. There's a girl who testified who turns out, you guys see this in USA Today? Last year she was like, I'm in high school, I play soccer, and this is harming me, you know, etc. Turns out she was lying. And all that came out in the USA Today article the other day. And she's the daughter of an ADF attorney. That's who she was. And she was lying. But nothing can be done about that. But anyway, I was watching the video to try to capture her video, and to get there, I saw your testimony again, and I was just reminded about what great testimony you give, and how happy I am to know you. So I'm glad to see you on the call today.
I wish they gave more time. They usually like to repair something. It's like a 3-minute, 2-minute speech, and they get there and they say it's on a 1-minute speech, and I like have to try to cram it in. It's like just sheer spirit of getting your words in before they cut you out more than anything else.
Cool. Any other questions about bills? And I gave you the spreadsheet, so you're the first to see them. I just made them this morning in preparation for this meeting today. So Let me know if you have any questions about that or anything else.
Should we say?
I just want to give props. Go ahead, Howard. Yeah, you can. That's fine.
Thanks. Should we say a few words about the Supreme Court decision, even though I know that's a little outside the scope of secular Arizona, but the election.
Which one, the Fulton?
Well,
the election.
The election bill that the court found constitutional that would, allow the state to restrict mail-in voting or whatever those bills did that were at issue, and there was also the question of being able to hide donors to. I forget if that was in Arizona or another state, but those were the two big losses, really, for progressives that the Supreme Court just did, as I understand.
I'm not up to speed on those. The only one I know about is Fulton, but perhaps Diane or Luke or someone else on the call who might have more information.
I have downloaded
from our legal program.
I have downloaded both of them. I have not read them yet. And the Brnovich one is, of course, Arizona, and it is about voting in the wrong precinct and about picking up and delivering ballots for other people, which is disgusting. We lost that, and it's a real bad thing. And the other one is California, and that was the prosperity, what's it called? Americans for Prosperity, who don't want to divulge the names of those who give them money, and then they funnel it into campaigns. And they said that California cannot require them to divulge those names, which means more dark money. So yes, we lost both of those. And again, I have them. I haven't read them yet.
Thanks.
I don't understand why that dark money thing in California isn't going to hurt us in Arizona when we're
It is.
So is it going to nullify the referendum we're trying to get signatures for?
I don't know. I'd have to read it. But
I was at a meeting yesterday with one of the organizers for dark money, and that Supreme Court decision will not impact our referendum, according to the people who are organizing the campaign.
Okay. Thank you.
I wanted to say a big thank you to Diane Post, like my right hand at the legislature. This was a tough session. She was there every day. I called her with a need or something. And hi everyone, say hello to my son.
He's on my door.
All right. So when I'm done with this, it sounds like we'll be cleaning up some cat pee. All right. Anyway, I wanted to give thanks to Diane and the entire legal team at Secular AZ, and to Eric Zaklikovich, who is my assistant. He does all the communications. He sends out the action alerts and the emails every week. Diane does a lot of the legal analyses, among other things, like she was incredibly helpful with House Bill 2648. And she has interns, and her interns put together that invocation spreadsheet for us. Like, Secular AZ is more than just me. So we have a whole group of people working on this stuff. Luke Douglas has been there helping with invocations and other legislative work. Thank you, Luke. But yeah, Diane, and Eric are like my trinity. And I appreciate the support of all of you, the liaise groups, organizations, people just being involved, writing letters, making phone calls, showing up to protests in the heat. Some of you did that, even with the pandemic going on. So there's a lot to, Secular AZ is doing great. Like, we're doing just fine. I know it's a bad year, but it wasn't just for us. It was a bad year for everyone that is progressive. Diane, did you have anything else you wanted to say about the Supreme Court? Okay. All right.
If you don't mind,
go ahead, Ed.
I'd like to remind everybody about the Independent Redistricting Commission. I know that's kind of my little thing, but that's That's now going to be kind of front burner stuff now that the legislature is over with. And so it's very important to make sure that the commission draws competitive districts where anybody can win. You won't have such a stacked legislature if you have districts where people are actually held accountable. So it's important to do that type of thing. And if you look at the very small numbers of votes that created this particular legislature, that just shows you how important redistricting is. So it's vitally important to get involved with it. And so I just want to put in that little plug.
Thank you, Ed. Yes, we'll be looking at that and things to come. There are things to come. We will be having some happy hours, and I don't know if they'll be in person or online yet. I have to talk to the board of directors before that call is made. But I'm thinking those are going to happen in September. And the happy hours are when we celebrate our lawmakers who really helped us through the session. So those will be in September. We will be having a secular summit in December. And it's usually like the first Saturday in December. Again, whether it's in person or online, not decided yet. We have a board meeting in a week. So I'm going to ask the board to discuss in-person events and what those might look like. And then we will have a day at the Capitol next year. So I'll be getting that date probably mid-August. I'll be getting that set down and hopefully we'll be in person. I just love for everybody to come in person to that event and hopefully it'll be enough time. Session starts again the second Monday in January, and that's what we'll be working on the next 6 months is getting ready for our next session. We're going to have the same legislature, albeit many of the lawmakers are leaving. I mean, they'll be there for the session, but it might look a little slightly different. It might not be as bad because they're going to be wanting to get out sooner so they can run for office. They won't drag it out. So they drug it out this year because it's not an election year. They had nothing else to do. And next year they have stuff to do. So, because they can't fundraise from lobbyists while they're in session. So they like to end it so they get lots of money from lobbyists, but not the secular lobbyists. But yeah, so. All right, everyone, that's it then. You have the resources. Thank you for coming to this kind of like, yay, we're over. Here's what happened. And you'll hear from me in a few months, probably with the happy hours and things. And if anyone wants me to come and give a more splashy and, you know, I do these like storytelling presentations. We can also, if it works for Diane, she's this way on my cash. If it works for Diane, I don't she and I will do it together so she can talk about all the legal stuff that she's been working on, as well as all of the legislative stuff that we do. So we have this great presentation. It's usually, 75 minutes long. Welcome to come out and deliver it to you or any other group that you think would like to have it. So thank you everyone for your attention. Thank you for your support. You're amazing, and have a wonderful July. I'm going to the beach for a week. So I'll come back very happy, well rested, ready to rock. So thank you all. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Take a vacation.